Good morning, it's Carrie. Welcome to Colorado Tulips. It is Wednesday, June 29th, and I thought I'd show you what's going on in the garden. There's a few things coming up, a few things blooming, a few things on their way out or already gone. Let's get started. Hey, if my nephew Kyle is watching, I love you, honey. All right, so tulips on their way out. It is very true that the last tulips up are also going to be the last ones to die off. I have some, in fact, that are still that are still showing green leaves, and what I hope are gathering more energy for next year. Some of them are tulips, some of them are hyacinths, which strangely they really do seem to like the leaves will sort of rot off and yellow in a non-dry way. I would say that's true not just for this wet bed, but also for the hyacinths that are in the ground. You can see a bunch of the daffodils are still green and still gathering energy, so they're still staying. Alliums are finishing up, though that foliage really does start to die back, really maybe when the flowers start coming, or certainly when the flowers are in full bloom, unlike the tulips. All right, so as you can see, there's a lot of little seedlings in here, as well as plants going out. For next year, I'm just gonna pull anything that's in this bed. I'm just gonna pull it and either try to pop it in the ground elsewhere, or just discard it like an actual flower farmer. So here's Cosmos. The Cosmos, I've transplanted a couple of them just to get them out of the way. They're tucked here amongst daffodil foliage. I've got a couple of, I think this is a zinnia. There's a few zinnias, maybe some basil going in here. Look at that, they're just tucked in. This is going to get very hot later in the summer. So I gotta decide whether I want to remove everything or no. Like even foliage wise, that's giving some shade. So we have some sunflowers. I know that these are sunflowers because I put these in last. Some of them have actually had the little sunflower head, like right here. If you can see that, that actually has the sunflower seed husk is still on there. So that's coming off. There are a couple of basils in here. I don't think I put any of the spearmint seeds in here because I've heard how nuts they can go. This is Allium nigrum. Very nice succession to the what I think are purple sensations. They do turn into this sort of otherworldly UFO type of thing. Here are, I think, a couple more zinnias. Pretty sure that's what that is. A pea plant. Look at that. I'm gonna have to get a little stake in here or something. We've got more flowers. There's a zinnia tucked under there. Reason why it's tucked under this potato plant is that I was not intending for this to be a potato plant. This was just pieces of potato that I'd stuck in the ground to compost that all came up in a row. So they're pushing flowers already, and so apparently at this point if I bothered to check, I'm not going to yet, but if I bothered to look under the ground, I would, I think, start seeing little baby potatoes, like new potatoes that could in fact be harvested. Look at that. It's just really neat to see this happening. And two tomato plants stuck together, growing and not dead or diseased yet. In fact, having some flowers. I got this little support over it. A couple of, I think these are going to be the Acidanthus, the peacock gladiolus. I have sprayed them preventatively, hopefully for thrips, just because I had a thrips problem earlier this summer, and had to pull out all of my gladiolus because I'm just not dealing with that. We've got some basil plants. I think that's what this is going to be. More Cosmos, and I may just grab a couple of these that I seeded really closely and try popping them into the front yard, since that could use some additional floriferousness. All right, there is the mostly dead pear tree. We'll see if it survives. It does look like the drying, like death is in fact spreading even further from here down to here. but we'll see what happens. There's a little pansy, probably technically a viola in there, and some zinnia seeds that are starting to come up too, since I just made the assumption that this was going to not survive. We've got Morning Glory plant right here, and some more cosmos. I think that's a zinnia. We'll see. We've got some gladiolus of some kind, hopefully the peacock, and some basil. Most of what I popped in here was basil, and a couple of tomato plants. I say 2 are stuck in here, just because they had been seeded together and left, and by the time I got them, it was too late to separate them. And you know, I know you can snip them off. There's the tomato. There's a little tomato flower. But frankly, with my history of tomatoes, I thought better safe than sorry. One of them is probably going to die soon. All right, so a farther back look. This is where I'm going to be planting more tulips and daffodils and other bulbs later. This was my solution to trying to remember where I had space. The little lilac bush is done. It's been a reliable performer. It never pushes that many blooms, but it usually has a few. And you know, during the summer, it just adds a nice spot of green here. All right, there's our yellow rose in kind of full, really full bloom here. So nice. It's maybe 2 feet tall, maybe 1.5 feet wide at this point. But yeah, just look at that. It's much healthier than it was last year when it was getting sort of black spots on it. So far, just really doing nicely. I always wonder what certain bugs are. Like, I don't know what that is. I'm gonna have to find out and see whether it is like something I need to kill. We'll see. These 2 little shrub roses from my friends Colleen and Todd, they've already had 1 massive push of blooms, and now they're starting up for the second. There's that one there. Over here, this one, I'm not seeing any new buds yet, but they're coming. There's a Supertunia Vista bubblegum that is sort of planted right here in the middle, and you know, not dead and starting to spread. I'm watering it and giving it fertilizer. There in the back is, I think it's a beard's tongue. I always forget. Beard's tongue, lupine, penstemon, something like that. We've got phlox coming back from last year. We've got some coleus. These are overwintered snapdragons. How cool is that? These are actually, strangely enough, I think I've mentioned it before, these are the 3 of the phlox from last year. Those 2 did very well. This one is a late start, but it's coming up, and we'll give it a chance. There's some perennial salvias from last year coming back up, and a little stalk in the back. Let's see. Oh, so here again, like daffodils, they were late, so they're still kind of green here in the garden. And this is what I meant about, like, even here in the dryness, when like these leaves, they don't seem to. These are the hyacinth leftovers. They almost seem to like rot, right? Like kind of just get soft and die, as opposed to the way that tulips and the daffodils really just dry out. There's a hydrangea doing better than ever before at this point. A little lantana that I just, you know, I think I got it for like $1 and popped in. I figured as the summer went on, right now it's tiny and shaded by a lot of these leaves, but as the summer goes on, it'll have had a chance to establish. And then I've had this for a number of years. Usually it might give me a bloom or 2. Now, wow, I think it's really liking the company back here. Same for, there's of course the dappled willow shrub. Same as this one here. Last year it had maybe a couple of leaves, and it just was, you know, that's what it's done for the last few years. Now it's an actual shrub again. Black lace elderberry that I worried might have been dead. No, it's not dead. It's happy. It's growing. It's all of this, like this, from like a couple of inches up all the way up here. That's like probably 2 feet of growth. This is all from just the last like month and a half. Look at that. That's all of that tall spired growth that you see coming up on the right side of the screen. That's all from just this season so far. Again, we've got some overwintered snapdragons. Got a couple of gladiolas that are coming up from last year. I think this one was white. Now it's kind of 2. It was beautiful. It had no thrips. It was kind of all alone over here on the side. So I'm really hopeful that it kind of sitting next to this little runt of a hydrangea bit. I'm just really hopeful that this comes back up and is hopefully white like it was. If I'm remembering the same ones. It's possible that I pop these in here and that they're dark red, but we shall see. I had also just shoved a couple of little gladiolus corms in here. There's one and there's another. I'm finding that these orchid echinanthus, the peacock orchid ones, are actually they're not very sturdy in the way that like a regular gladiolus is, where the leaves are standing up more. I'm finding that they're just bending more. So we'll see what's happening with that. But these are the little lily scales that I just popped back here. They are, you can see here on a few of them, they are happy and even have buds. There might have even been like 1 or 2 here that were larger and not just the scales, but you can see like that there's even the single scales are pushing a little bit of something there for me. What I know is that these are going to be like an orange color, because that's what my husband liked and that's what I bought. They're frankly not my favorite. I don't particularly like that color, but when you ask your hubs what color he wants for it and he says, you know, give me those bright hot colors, then you know, you do it. So that's what I'm doing mostly in the front yard. In the backyard here, it's mostly the gentler colors. But all right, last thing here is the kraken, right? This is the dwarf willow, kind of sibling of this little one over here. I cut it back at least a third. I got rid of 6 or 7 big branches on the bottom, and I kind of topped a bunch of the branches here just to keep it in control. I miss it already. I really love that giant kraken, but I mean, it was spreading enormously, and you know, that's not the end look I'm going for. So I just thought I'd give it a haircut, but I miss it, and I do love the way it waves. Okay, everyone have a great day. Take care.